God could multiply the world in the same way that he brought Adam into the world. He didn't need a woman to bring mankind into existence. And of course, I'll just go way ahead of myself and say, this is exactly the way that God did it with Jesus. He didn't need a woman to bring people into the eternal world. He did it by a word that he was pregnant with from God, and therefore spoke man into existence. You see that in John chapter 1. Okay, let me go now back to this verse. I'm reading out of the King James Version. I want you to pay attention, because you and I, we do have to look at some of this stuff more carefully. And so I want to say again, God said, woman, I will make him and help meet for him. So that's it. And then after that, he began to share with us that he made these other animals. And but he says in verse B of verse 20, but for Adam there was not found an help meet for him. Powerful stuff. See that? So, because God wasn't just going to make the woman as just any creature. Everything that was made that Adam named wasn't suitable for him, even though he named them. It says there in that verse 19. And it says, and whatever soever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. So it means that whatever God had made outside of the person of Adam was not suitable for him, even though Adam named them in the image of God, made in the image of God, naming everything that God brought to him. Said, nope, it's not going to be it. And then he announces this in the B phrase of verse 20, but for Adam there was not found a help meet for him. There you are. This was not going to be this woman like any other of the creation but Adam. She had to be of the same sort of Adam, but with a different responsibility. So I want to say the same God that said, let us make man, also said, I will make him a help meet for him. Same God said it. So she has the same value. She has the creative purpose into existence was in God's mind. No one else's mind. No one else could do it. Only God could do it. And only God gave her purpose. So anyone in the earth today that would try to anyway mediate your purpose outside of the created order. First, I'm reading the original purpose here. Didn't have to be specific as it relates to, say, your husband or anything else. It was enough to say that in the creation, I'm making a woman that's going to be suitable for what I'm doing in the whole planet. That's what you got to get out of this, or you're wrong. You're missing it if you don't get this. So you are amazing, and this is not to satisfy your ego. It is to satisfy God's purpose, agreeing with the work that God did. Now, we could go into specifics, like people trying to say you are no good, or you're not smart enough, or you're not good looking enough, or you're not tall enough. And you have no authority. Because you're the handiwork of God, and what God made you for, he's exactly right about it. And it says in so I want to say the phrase again in verse 20, the last bit, for Adam there was not found a help meet for him. What he's saying is, nothing in the earth was going to meet the standard that God was going to have in this help meet. It had to come from something that matched the creation that God had in the man. So what did God do? Verse 21. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from the man made he a woman and brought her unto the man. Now look at here, look at here. Now this is God's doing. Taking the, you can say, and it says in some of the alternate translations, the whole side of the man made he the woman. But this is, again, it's not to satisfy your ego. It has to do with the creative purpose of God and the value that he puts to her, not the comparative value that you may have in relation to someone else on the earth. Yours is the creative value that God has in bringing you into existence. He didn't have to make, as I said before, a male and female in order to do what he did. And I'm saying to you ahead of time that in people being born again, it doesn't happen the same way in the spirit that it happens in the natural. The union of the marriage bed, conception, gestation, birth. No, it doesn't happen like that. Now, it doesn't mean that someone doesn't get pregnant with someone being need to be born again and they pray that through. Yeah. But again, God is the absolute source of all life. In himself. Oh, I'm just saying, God doesn't need anybody else to bring anything into existence. He is the creator, and the uncreated is the creator. The one that always existed brings things into existence. My God. So he's greater than creation itself. Why? Because he's the I am. He's the never was not. He always was. So everything that's brought into existence came from someone who already existed, had no beginning, and of course has no ending. Yeah. So you can meditate on that for a while, but it's true. And so in this deep sleep, the Lord then in verse 22, and the rib which the Lord God had taken from the man made he a woman and brought her unto the man. So God didn't need to bring her to anyone else into the heavens, to the Godhead or to the archangels or cherubims. He brought her to the man. See? And Adam said, see, look at here, verse 23, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She should be called woman because she was taken out of man. Now, you got to meditate on this.